Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now redubbed by Disney, current Lucasfilm, combine the two. Legends. So today for you, I have the Corellian Trilogy, because I didn't have enough notes for them individually, so I'm just going to do them as a trilogy. And then we'll see what happens with the Hand of Thrawn duology. It will either be two separate videos, or will be two videos, or it will be one video together. Don't know yet. But before I even get started, I'm going to say, this book does not get as much hate as other books during the Bantam era, but there's still a lot of people that seem to say, like, just skip this one. Like, it's whatever. And I don't see why. It's really, really good. And while the overall story may not be the most important thing to future events, Centerpoint Station is super important to later events that we won't get into, because that would be spoilers. But New Jedi Order, I don't know about Legacy of the Force, but I know New Jedi Order, Fate of the Jedi, that thing, that station, matters. Very much so. But we'll get into that like a year from now, or however long it takes. But, so, the whole idea with this book is, it's been, what, 12 years now since the final movie, since the final battle. There's a freaking ant on my phone, because ants are stupid, so annoying, so sorry. It's the summer, and so ants are just crazy during summer. But the whole idea is that, you know, we have the Solo kids, we have Han and Leia, and they're going to Corellia because there's some stuff going on in Corellia, and Leia needs to go. She has a summit meeting to do, so this is kind of their vacation, or they're taking a vacation a little bit early because of where they need to be anyway. They're going to take a little vacation there. Luke and Lando go on a journey to go find Lando a wife, so that's interesting. But overall, for this first book, I'll do the same thing for the second book, and then the third book is just going to be full of spoilers. So if you're listening by that point, leave. Though I don't have too much to say. Yeah. So that's pretty much the first book. I don't want to say anything else that is spoilers, but it's really good. I think so anyway. You move on to the second book, Assault on Selonia. And here I'm going to say, if you haven't read the first book, you're probably not going to want to hear this, so get out. But at this point, we have found out that Thrackan Sal Solo, the cousin to Han Solo, is working with this human racist terrorist group to get control of the Corellian system. Meanwhile, the twins are with their draw guide and this droid, Q9 or whatever it was. Freaking ant, die, please, you vermin. Like Thrackan Sal Solo likes to call. Also, obviously, no one's going to compare to Thrawn, because Thrawn was like, you know, it's Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, and there's Thrawn, and those are like the holy trinity of villains. Like, they just are really, really good. When we get to the Yuuzhan Vong, not even do I think they'll be really good. They're clearly a threat, and they're probably one of the better villains in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Oh my freaking god, there's like 10 of them. We're going to ignore that for now, because I have stuff to do. I was just talking to you guys. But, sorry, fudge. Whole thing's ruined. So unprofessional, so uncivilized. But yeah, we have, so they're doing their own thing. Lando and Luke go back to Coruscant to discuss what the hell's going on, and they're still doing stuff together, which is fine. I just don't want to spoil too much. So overall, I have to say this book is these 3 books as a trilogy, I think, are really, really, really good. And one of the things is that in this book specifically, because before they were mentioned, they had speaking lines, but the solo children were not really characters. They were just kind of there. This is the first book where they kind of become the center point of the story. I mean, they're not the main characters. There's other people there as well, but they do have a significant role in this book. Now, these basically like establish, their personalities to a point, and I don't think they're going to change very much in Young Jedi Order, and Junior, Young Jedi Knights and Junior Jedi Knights. Essentially, you can think of like a TV show that you like to watch, like a cartoon, Adventure Time, a regular show, Ben 10. You establish what the characters like. You can have, like big dramatic events happen to them, but relatively, besides minor changes, they have the same personality. The solo children will not have big character progression until a New Jedi Order, where they're older, and a lot more stuff is happening in their life. Because if this was a stressful situation, they are due for some way worse scenarios down the road. I loved Han in this. Does he have the biggest role ever? Oh my gosh, the freaking ants! Just get off my stuff. I'm sorry, this is so unprofessional, but they're literally everywhere, and they're crawling all over my... I don't know why. They weren't here like 2 seconds ago, but they find their ways. But that's what happens in the summer. Happens every summer. It's something I gotta deal with. They always find their way in here. But I loved Han in it, because he's a father now. And I mean, he's still going on he's going on the adventures and stuff, but I just appreciate, him. He finally got what he wanted. If you look back at the A.T. Crispin Han Solo trilogy, he thought he would be a good father. And, he wanted to fall in love, and he couldn't do that because Bria. But now he found Leia, and now he has that happiness, so I'm happy for him. Anyway, these books can drag, I will admit, but for the most part, they are overall really good reads, and I highly recommend them, especially since they chronologically are the last books till we get to the Hand of Thrawn duology, which is basically the end of the Bantam era. Before we get in, I mean, you have little stuff in between, Survivor's Quest, the Union comic book, and the Young Jedi Knight series, but after that, there's just going to be a lot of sadness and stressfulness for a while. So, take those happy moments with the kids while you can. Anyway, on to the spoilers. So this was written by Roger McBridge Allen. For the first book, my notes have, there's a quote that Han Solo has in the beginning. I think he's like thinking it, but still, where he goes, "I'm a family man now." And most amazing, he likes it. So I like that. So I think it's 12 years since Return of the Jedi, but it is 18 years since Episode 4. Just to give you some perspective on the time frame. Anakin, it's weird, with his Force adeptness, some people are healers, some people are, more strong. He seems to have an adeptness with, like, machines. Not in the way of, like, being like Luke or Han, where they're able to, like, fix machines up. He kind of just understands technology without, like, the Force. It's kind of weird, but I like it. It's unique. He, like, can use the Force to, like, figure out how to do things. Jaina is a lot like Han when it comes to, like, physically, like, fixing up machines and stuff like that. Like, she's, a pilot, like Han. Jason's like Aquaman. It's not exactly, I'm being mean. He's good with living beings. Like, he he's better at sensing things like that, like with people and animals and stuff. He's better at stuff like that. Again, Leia mentions, because there's a part where they're all eating dinner in the first book, and, you know, I don't remember who it was, maybe it was Jaina, but one of them gets really angry and gets sent to their room. And Leia just says, you know, that scares me, because these aren't just normal kids. These kids have the Force. I don't want them to end up like my father. I don't want them to turn to the dark side. So this is a thing that's been mentioned by several different authors in several different books, ever since they've been around, that she's afraid of what might happen to them. And it is a legitimate concern. But I just find it amazing how every author seems to make that present in Leia, as like a reoccurring fear that she has for her children. And of course, as I said in non-spoiler, Lando wants Luke to help him find a bride. Ibrahim and Q9, Star Wars Mary Poppins, they just show up and are like, yo, we're gonna take care of your kid because you're busy. But they're actually new characters introduced to these books, and I love them. I think they're wonderful new characters. My last note for the first book is Han's promise wish for Chewie. He says, in any case where my children are in danger, your life debt is to me, but my children are the priority. If it comes between saving me or Leia, or the kids, you save the kids. And that doesn't only apply to this book. That's all I'll say. Moving on to the Assault on Selonia, which is the second book in the Han Solo trilogy. Sorry, in the Corellian trilogy. The entire ghoul scene was legitimately pretty creepy. Just like how it's described, I got very weird images in my head of what those things look like, and the whole way down to their secret hideout was pretty creepy. Mon Mothma and Admiral Akbar need Luke to talk to the girl he had a fling with for like a second at Truce at Bakora. So the woman from Truce at Bakora is back. There's an entire chapter in this second book where Mara Jade, yes, she's in this series, forgot to mention that, and Leia get, like, the entire chapter is, like, just girl power. Like, it's really cool, that whole chapter. And it's okay, because it wasn't shoved down my throat. Showdown at Centerpoint. One of the notes I put is that it is a containment facility for large amounts of power. And that is true. But that is not all. But I can't tell you what else till way later on in my reviews. But we'll get to that eventually. But for those of you who have already read these books, you know. Sadly, the lady from Bakora, from the book, she had a kid and everything. She was a mother. And she dies in this book, leaving her daughter an orphan. Those are the only two notes I have. But also the fact that Anakin was the only one who could use Centerpoint Station because he's somehow infused with it, and he had the power to work with it. But overall, this final book was really good too. And I enjoyed the scene between, I didn't write it down, but the final scene between Thrak and Solo and Han Solo. I thought that was really interesting. These books get too much hate. I don't know why. They are skippable, but why? They are really good, and there is something in here that is majorly important for future things. Do you need to have necessarily read this trilogy to understand that later on? But no, but if you've read this and then you see it later on, you're like, oh my goodness. So I think it's worth your time. If you like Han Solo and him having a family, then these are worth your time. Hold on a second there. Anyway, see you next time.